Hello students, welcome back into the another session of CS02 programming in C. As all of you know that we are discussing about our last unit for the subject called problem solving methodologies using programming in C. Lastly we are discussing about the very advanced concept in C that is called as pointer. In a previous lecture we have discussed about the definition, syntax and one simple example where we have used pointer into the general programming development. Even we have bifurcated the difference between static and the dynamic programming language. Now let's go ahead by introducing some other examples. The next example that we are going to take is using pointer will perform various types of mathematical manipulation operation. Now as you can see onto the screen, the code that we have already done is in which it adds the two numbers using pointer. So the definition comes, write a program to add two number using pointer. Now in this code, after writing the necessary library functions like hash include standard input output.h and hash include console input output.h, there is a main executable statement with opening and closing bracket which demonstrates or describes the structure of programming in C. Then I have taken total 5 variables where apart from these 5 variables, 2 are the pointer variable which points to the first inputted value as well as the second pointer variable points to the second inputted value. For entering the value into the program, I have given the label called enter your first value, then scanf %d and first which read and store first value of user into the given variable. Then on a very next line there is a message enter your second value, scanf %d and second which read and store the second value of user inside the variable called second. Then the pointer variable called a points to the address of first value and pointer variable called b points to the address of second variable. So this is the way in which it justifies the definition of pointer, that pointer always points to the address, not to the value. So once the pointer assigns to the specific address of a given variable, then the sum, that is the third variable, will add the two value which is pointed by that particular pointer variable using pointer a plus pointer b, and then printf statement will print the addition of that two number onto the screen. When we execute the code, as per the sequence of the program, it asks for the first value. Say for example I am giving 3 and the second value that I am giving 2, it returns 5 onto the screen. Just don't get confused, in the last line of the program it's not -5, as I have given a dash over here, it prints the same onto the screen. Let me enter the new value, that is 2 and 2, it gives 4 onto the screen, that is the addition of two number. Now just simply changing the sign, or you can say the mathematical operator in this program, from plus to minus, it returns the subtraction of the two numbers. Let me show you the demo of the same program. So for that, two changes I am doing in this program. The first change that I have done, I have replaced the sign of plus as minus, and then the next change that I have done is I have changed the label into the last printf statement like subtraction. And then let me save the code and compile the code. As there are no syntactical errors, we can go for the second step of the program where it asks for the inputted values. Say for example I am giving The first value is a 6 and the second value is a 2. Then it returns 4. That means 2 is subtracted from the 6 and the remaining value will be written onto the screen, which is called as 4. Now same like this, by changing the sign again from minus to multiply, and let me change the label from subtraction to multiplication. I am giving a very short text over here. It returns the multiplication of two numbers, that is 2 into 2 is equals to 4. For the cross verification purpose, here I am giving the first value as a 5 and the second value as a 2. Total will be written 10 onto the screen, and it's a multiplication of two numbers. So this is the general usage of all the mathematical operators using pointer. What will be the core part of this entire discussion? We have used pointer variable into the different types of mathematical operators. So just note down the definition that you have to implement by yourself. You have already implemented the program called write a program to add the two numbers using pointer, that we have done into the last lecture. The next definition that we have to implement is write a program to subtract two numbers using pointer. Again I am repeating my words. Write a program to subtract two numbers using pointer. The next program is write a program to multiply the two numbers using pointer. So all this definition you have to do all this definition you have to do by yourself, and then you have to write it down into the journals. Now without wasting more time, let's move ahead for the introduction of pointer for the advanced topic. So after introducing pointer into the operator, we need to introduce pointer into the decision making statement. So for that, what I am doing is, what will be the definition of my program? The definition of my program is write a program to check number is positive or negative using pointer. Again I am repeating my words. Write a program to check number is positive or negative using pointer. Now in this program we have to use pointer with decision making statement. So let's start with the same program. The first line of the code is hash include stdio.h, that is standard input output.h, and the second line is hash include console input output.h. Then there is a void main executable statement with the brackets. Then here I am declaring the necessary variables, that is the first let me write here number for entering the number, and pointer a which points to that particular variable called number. Then there is a function called CLRACR. Then the message comes over the screen, enter your number, scanf %d ampersand number. Now once the value stored inside the variable called number, a should be pointed into the address of number, or we can say that pointer points to the address of inputted value called number. Then there is a decision making statement. If pointer a greater than 0, if this condition is true, then the message comes onto the screen is number is positive. Else if the condition is false, then it prints the message called number is negative. After the closing brackets, there is a function called get ch. Let me save this particular program as a 16.c. Let's compile the code. As you can see onto the screen, there are no syntactical error. Let's go for executing the code. It asks for the number. Suppose I am giving 3. 3 is a positive number. So there is a message onto the screen, number is positive. Let me re-execute the code and I am giving -6 as a input. Then it returns the message called number is negative. Now let's see this particular program into the notepad for better visibility. So for that, the location is C drive, turbo C disk, turbo C bin, and the file that is called as 16.c. I'm opening in notepad. So this is the code where you can see that after the necessary library function and the main executable statement with opening and closing bracket, there is a variable declaration section where we have declared the two variables, where first is the regular normal variable called number and the second is pointer variable called pointer a. Then there is a CLRS here. Then the message comes which instructs the user to enter their value, that is enter your number, or you can say enter your value. Then scanf %d and %number, which read and store the user value inside the variable called number. Then pointer points to the address of specific variable called number using a is equals to %number. And then there is a decision making statement where the pointer variable checks that whether the entered number is greater than 0 or not. If the entered number is greater than 0, condition becomes true and it prints the message that number is positive. Otherwise, it prints the message called number is negative. That means whenever we execute this particular program, first it gives the message enter your number, and program waits for your input. Say for example, suppose you input 5, then this condition becomes true as 5 is greater than 0 and the message onto the screen is number is positive. In case number 2, say for example, instead of this 5, suppose I am entering -9, then it prints a message onto the screen that is number is negative. So this would be the expected output of your entered value. You can check for any value, appropriate message should be printed onto the screen. So I hope all of you have a clear cut idea that how can we implement a pointer variable using a pointer variable in decision making statement. Let's make one more program for the same. For the practice purpose, let me go back into the C. Then let's open the last program that we have done. Now the program which I want to implement is write a program to check whether the number is odd or even using pointer variable. Again I am repeating my definition. Write a program to check whether the entered number is odd or even. In this code, all the line remains same from first to this particular line called a is equals to end number. Just the decision making statement part will be changed from like this, if pointer a modulo 2 double equals to 0, that means it will check for the remainder 0. If remainder 0 is there, then the message is number is even. Otherwise, if the decision making statement is false, it returns a message onto the screen number is odd. Let's save the code. check for the syntactical error and execute the code. Suppose I am giving 2. 2 modulo 2 returns the remainder 0. So the message is number is even. That means 2 is the even number. Now let's check for the odd number. Say for example I am giving 5. Then it returns the message onto the screen, number is odd. So this program also works properly. Let's see into the notepad for better visibility. Let me open into the notepad. Now I am not repeating the path where the exit program is going to be stored. It's already discussed so many times. I'm just opening that particular program directly into the notepad. So this is the code, where after writing the necessary library function and void main, that is called as main executable statement, there is a two variables I have declared, where one is a local variable, or you can say the static variable, and second is the pointer variable. Then after CLR ACR there is a label called enter your number, and this scanf statement read and store user's inputted value into the variable called number. Then pointer points to the address of that particular variable by writing a is equals to ampersand number, and the decision making statement checks that whether that number is divisible by 2 or not, and what will be the remainder. If the remainder is 0, then this condition is true and it prints the message onto the screen that number is even. Otherwise, if remainder is not 0 or fractional or 1 or whatever, then it prints the message onto the screen, number is odd. So this is the logic of entire program. For developing the program called write a program to check whether the number is odd or even using pointer. So this was all about how can we use decision making statement using pointer. Let me write our sequence over here. We have introduced pointer for variable first, then we have introduced pointer for various types of mathematical operators, then we have introduced pointer for decision making statement. Let me write very shortly. We have used pointer for decision making. Now we'll go for pointer with looping control structure. So it's a one type of ladder where we are introducing our pointer one by one into the advanced steps of programming in C. So let's start by introducing pointer in looping control structure. For that, again I am taking the reference of last program that I have implemented. In this program, what I want to do is, using the standard looping control structure called for, I am using for loop in this program. You can go for while and do while also, but I am going to use for. It's not a rule that a pointer can be used into the for only. You can go for while and do while also, but I am using it into the for loop. What I want to do is, using the for loop, I am going to print 1 to 5 numbers, or you can say 1 to n numbers. So let's start with the same. First we have to write necessary library function. Then into the structure of C, two variable declaration are I requires, that is a local variable declaration and a pointer variable declaration. Then a one label which read and store a value inside the variable called number, and pointer points to the address of stored number. Then after this line there is a keyword called for. I is equals to 0, I less than equals to pointer a, not pointer a but pointer number. I, for I is equals to 0, I less than equals to pointer a, my first statement is correct. Then I plus plus into the brackets printf percentage d comma I. After the completion of bracket, there is a get ch function and the program gets completed. Let's execute the code. Here we have to declare I into the variable declaration. Okay, as you can see that there are no syntactical error. Let's execute the code. Now what I am doing is, here I am entering 10. What will be the expected output? That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 10 numbers. So it's there onto the screen. Let me show you line by line all the numbers, so it would be easy to rectify that exactly this program works. So 1 to 10 numbers are there onto the screen. This is possible using the looping control structure called for. Now let's see this program in Notepad. This is the code where almost all the line from first to the selected portion is common. I am not going to repeat it because I have already repeated for the 3 times. Directly I am starting with the looping control structure that I have introduced using pointer. So that structure starts from this line called for I is equals to 1, I less than equals to pointer a, I plus plus into the bracket printf percentage d slash n for printing every number into the new line comma I with closing bracket. So this looping control structure repeats up to the entered number and it executes n number of time and prints the number onto the screen. That means suppose I enter 5, then this for loop will repeat for 5 times and it prints 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 onto the screen. If I enters the number called 10, then this loop repeats for 10 times and it prints 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 onto the screen. Let's do more practice for another program. Let me go back into the C. Now what I want to do is I want to print the sum of 1 to n number. That means say for example, suppose I enter 5, then 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 whatever the value is will be printed onto the screen. So for that one more variable I need to extend in this particular program called sum, and in this looping control structure I have to write sum is equals to sum plus I and sum will be declared as a 0. That means every time first time it add the value of I with 0 and then every repetition it increments the last value with the newer value of I. Then after the completion of this for loop, out of the looping control structure there is a message sum is percentage d comma sum. Let's run and let me enter a very less value, that is 3. What will be the output of 3? 1 plus 2 plus 3, that is 3 plus 2 is equals to 5 plus 1 is equals to 6 should be there. So sum is 6 onto the screen. This program works properly. Now we can check for the greater value, that is 5. So the counting will be like this: 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, total becomes 15. Now let's see this code in Notepad for better visibility. This is the program where first change is over here. In variable declaration, the new variable I have taken is sum is equals to 0. Then inside the looping control structure, I have written the statement called sum is equals to sum plus I, and then out of the looping control structure called for, there is a message sum is percentage %d, and the final sum or the final value which is stored inside the variable called sum is going to be print by this printf statement. Write down the definition for this particular program. Write a program to print sum of write a program to print sum of 1 to n number using for loop. Clear? Now let's practice some more program. The next program that I want to implement is like this. Write a program which checks 1 to n number for total number of odd and total number of even. That means, say for example, suppose I enter 5, then from 1 2 3 4 5, how many numbers are how many numbers are odd and how many numbers are even. So what I am going to do is, here I am declaring a new variable called even is equals to 0 and odd equals to 0. Then into the into the looping control structure, I am writing one decision making statement where I am writing if I modulo 2 double equals to 0. That means a decision making statement will check whether the number is odd or even by dividing 2 and monitoring the remainder called 0. If this condition is true, then it will increment the variable called even by 1. That means I have written even plus plus else. It increments the value called odd plus plus, and out of the loop, here I am giving the message total even is percentage %d even, and on next line total odd is percentage %d comma odd. Let's check for the program. As you can see that there are no syntactical errors. Let's execute the code. As I am starting from 1 not 0, right? So the total number of odd and even starts from 1 itself. From 1 to 5, total number of even is 2 and total odd is 3. Let's check. 1 is odd, 2 is even. So 1 1, 3 is odd, 4 is even. So even is 2, odd is 2, and 5 itself is odd. So odd is 3, and the loop gets terminated. So the final figure is total even is 2 and total odd is 3. That is perfect onto the screen. Let's put a one line that is called as /n. Let's again re-execute the code and enter 5. It shows total even is 2 and total odd is 3 onto the screen. Let's say this program onto the screen, onto the notepad. C drive turbo C disk 60. Write down the definition for this particular program. Write a program to print how many numbers are odd and even in between 1 to n number. You can note down this particular program. Just pause the video and write down the program up to this closing bracket. Now I'm just scroll it down for the remaining part of the program. This is the remaining part of the program. Note down that particular portion. Try to implement this type of program by yourself. So what we have done up to this, we have introduced pointer for looping control structure, as well as for decision making statement. Now in next lecture, what we are going to do is we are going to introduce pointer for an advanced concept of programming in C called array. Then we'll go for structure, and then we'll go for pointer to pointer itself. So in my next lecture, these three topics I am going to cover. Once it is finished, the first section of the last unit called unit number 5 will get completed. So I hope all of you have a clear cut idea about how can we use pointer in programming in C. Thank you very much students for listening me, and have a nice day.